Can anyone hear me?
I can't, Angela. I'm not seeing or hearing anything.
Okay.
I just texted Jake to see what was going on.
Okay, now I can see the council chambers. By the way, congratulations on your completed construction. It looks very nice, by the way.
Thanks. Hopefully it's getting painted today. I think Chad's out there, so that'll be awesome once it's done.
Right on. Good job.
June 10th, 2026. Hearing devices are available. Please see the city clerk. To avoid meeting disruptions, please place cell phones in silent mode or turn them off during the meeting. All meetings are recorded. When addressing the Planning Commission, please sign in and state your name and speak clearly into the microphone. Thank you for your understanding. Item 1.1, Pledge of Allegiance. And Commissioner White, will you please lead us? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item 1.2, roll call. Commissioner Vanderheiden. Absent. Chairwoman Garvin, I'm present. Commissioner Wagner.
Present.
Commissioner Lewis.
Present.
Commissioner Williams.
Present.
Commissioner Flores.
Present.
Vice Chair McCullough. And Commissioner White.
Present.
All right, we have a quorum. All right. Next, can I please get a motion for tonight's minutes? For the approval of tonight's agenda, excuse me. Commissioner Flores.
I move to approve today's agenda for the Planning Commission.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Can we please vote? Commissioner Williams. And I vote to yes. We're missing mine.
Did we miss the public forum 1.3?
We did. Bear with me.
No worries. I understand you're having some issues.
All right, and that passes 6-0. We'll go to item 1.3, public forum. This is the portion of the meeting devoted to the public. The public may comment on any matter that is not specifically included on the agenda as an action item. Items not included on this agenda cannot be acted upon other than to place them on a future agenda. If you wish to comment, you can do so in person at the meeting or use the raise your hand feature in Zoom, *9 if you're participating via phone. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. Please avoid repetition. The chair may, at her discretion, hold comments until the second public forum at the end of the meeting. Public comments submitted prior to 4 p.m. the day of the meeting will be provided to the Planning Commission and added to the record, but will not be read during the live meeting. Any public input received after 4 p.m. the day of the meeting will be included in the record, but may not reach commission members before action is taken. Is there any public input at this time? If you are speaking at the podium, please print your name on the sheet provided. Just step on up. And make sure that your microphone's on. You'll have to push the button at the bottom. Okay.
Is it on now? Oh, I can hear. I'm here because of buffering and zoning laws. Am I in the right place? Okay,
Sure.
so if you look at your figure per your bound code, it's 3209150-2 buffer. And it says between the subdivisions, there has to be a green belt, a road or something like that. Where I live, it's not there behind my house. And the reason I bring it up is I live in a HOA at the golf course over there, and I'm getting fines on my house for the fence and stuff that's there. Well, then I started looking into it. Because of the buffering laws, I'm on the wrong side of the buffer to be even zoned in the HOA. And I'd like to say to somebody who's sitting in this room, that fence is staying there. I've had the sheriff at my house 3 times for people kidnapping my dogs, the lady behind me. I've had the SWAT team surround my house because the person next to me was in a domestic violence thing. That was quite a story too. And my house where it sits, it kind of looked like an empty lot for a while. So people were driving their trucks through the house. There were squatters in there. There was tons and trailers full of garbage. So I had enough. I put up a fence the best I could. Now the HOA came after me and said, you can't do it. Well, you know what? They said I didn't up the standards. I was a special inspector for the city of Fernley, for the FFA, for the state, for all that. I'm a materials expert, okay? I asked them to come and look at the house. They wouldn't even meet me out there. I went to the last meeting. They wouldn't even let me in the room, told me to leave. It was okay, and I did, and then there's a lien on my house, okay? So I want that figured out about the buffer. The other thing is, I don't know who's in charge of this. There's a manhole in my backyard from the golf course. I've had him look at it, and it comes across there, and I don't know if it's abandoned. There's no cover on the manhole. So that's the other thing with the fence. If it's the manhole's there and it's the property of the city of the golf course, there might be an easement there where I might have to move the fence over anyways. And so I'm looking for help. I'm looking for answers. I want to know about this buffering law, if it's going to be enforced, because it's not my house. It's about 20 houses out there that don't meet your codes. Like I said, I was a code enforcement officer for 35 years. And I'm retired now. So
What
when
is
you
your
make
name? I'm sorry, what is your name, sir?
Jeff Mass. So when you make all your plans and everything for the neighborhoods and stuff, and you go through all that, eventually those plans would come to me and I would go out and test the roads in the neighborhood, in the trenches. I was a building inspector. So I know how to read the plans and the zoning and where I'm at. It was very specific on, when the FFA, where are you at, what height, whatever. So this needs to be looked at. I mean,
No, Mr. Mass, Michelle Rambo is our planning director. She's sitting right here, and she
Yep.
can definitely answer any questions you have about the development code, for sure.
okay, and so, and the other thing I was reading into it, because the city of Fernley kept changing codes or something. I mean, we were a part
It was
Churchill County.
recently,
Yeah, and
buffering
then
was
back-
recently updated.
Yeah, I started my career 40 years ago in this town. I was here for like a year or so, and I stuck to it ever since then. And when you guys talk about doing all the code books and stuff, in Las Vegas, I was a young man. I was sitting in the office with Ron Lynn, president of the ICC and the head of the Clark County Building Department. So I went through all those training seminars and stuff. I'm not saying I'm the smartest person in the world, but that was my experience and that was my life. And now I'm, so I want to know about this. I'm not just a regular citizen that's like, you know,
Yeah,
so that's all.
I would definitely get in touch with
So
Ms.
that's
Rambo.
my next step, because so far, I tell you, I've talked to the city attorney, I've talked to the mayor about it. They've sent me to Urington. I'm getting in circles, okay? And right now, I talked to the mayor about this. Oh, there's a fine on my house, so it's $4,000. No, it's $6,000, and it's going up every day. I'm not even in the HOA according to this. So, Ryan, I'm asking the man, check it out, dude. See, he won't even acknowledge it or anything. What, did you have anything to say about that?
Oh,
I'm just going to direct you to make sure you make your comments to the council or the
Okay.
planning commission and not to members of the audience.
Okay, I'm done.
thank you.
I don't know, when can I meet with you sometime? Do I need to come in or?
Why don't you give me a call tomorrow and we'll set something up?
Okay, thank you.
All right. Is there any other public comment? Any on Zoom? All right. Let's move on to item 1.5, approval of the minutes. And we don't. Oh, there are no minutes. So since there are no minutes to approve or not approve, then we'll need to vote to defer approving the minutes until next meeting. Okay. So since our minutes from the last meeting were not attached to our board portal, can I have a motion to defer approving the minutes of last meeting to next month?
I make a motion to defer approving the minutes to the meeting that will happen in July.
Thank you, Commissioner White. Can I have a second?
I
Commissioner
second that motion.
Thank you. And let's vote. I approve. I say yes.
I say yes.
All right, and that passes 6-0. Agenda item 2.1, presentation from the Northern Nevada chapter of the American Planning Association discussion, discussing such things as the Planning Commission's role and responsibilities, the importance of making legal findings, the part that staff plays in the process, and other related topics.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. I asked these two lovely people who will introduce themselves to come talk to you. A couple of commission meetings ago, there was some questions about what your role is and why you're here. And so I had somebody come to explain that. So I'm going to turn it over to them and they'll take it from here.
Good afternoon, evening, City of Fernley County Board of Planning Commissioners, and public participants. The purpose of our presentation today is to give an overview of the role of planning commissioners. My name is Anne Ray Lane, and I have the privilege of serving as the Vice President of the Nevada chapter of the American Planning Association. I am here today at the request of staff to provide technical assistance on behalf of the APA Nevada Executive Board. This presentation is part of our commitment to supporting planners and communities across our state, and we are pleased to offer this assistance at no cost. Our goal is to provide valuable insights and resources to help navigate planning challenges and support effective decision-making. In addition to my role with Nevada APA, I'm a senior land use planner with 16 years of experience working with local, state, and federal governments. I currently work at NCE, and I'm a mother, a proud hockey mom to a charming 13-year-old boy. With me today, I have Scott Carey. Scott Carey grew up in Sparks, attended public schools, and used the Governor Kenny Gwen Memorial Scholarship to graduate from the University of Nevada, Reno. He has 20 years of experience, and over that time, Scott has built a diverse career in public service, working at the tribal, state, and local levels across Nevada. He has been a committed member of the APA Nevada chapter since 2006, and he has served the Nevada Planning as president since 2024. And we appreciate the opportunity to be here today. Thank you for your time. There we are. Before we get into the details, I'll just give you an overview of today's presentation and what we'll be covering. We'll be going over Nevada revised statutes that establish the govern the Planning Commission. Next, we'll review the role of Planning Commissioner, and we'll discuss the Commissioner's purpose, responsibilities, and the importance of making decisions based on adopted plans, ordinances, and public interests. We'll then cover the bylaws and ethics, including meeting procedures, standards of conduct, conflicts of interest, and ethical expectations that accompany public service. Following that, we'll review roles and prohibited acts of behavior. This section focuses on actions commissioners should avoid and provides guidance on maintaining public trust and complying with state ethics laws. And finally, we'll discuss required findings. This is one of the most important aspects of the commissioner's work because land use decisions must be supported by specific findings that are based on evidence in the record and applicable code requirements. So the legal basis and statutory requirements. To effectively serve as planning commissioners, it's important to understand that legal framework that governs the commission's actions and decision-making. There are 3 key governing documents that every commissioner should be familiar with, and together they establish the legal requirements, procedures, and expectations for conducting commission business. First is the Nevada's open meeting law. This law ensures transparency in government and requires the Planning Commission business be conducted openly and publicly. And Scott later on will go into that in more detail. Second are the Planning Commission bylaws, and these are the City of Fernley specific PC bylaws. These bylaws establish the commissioner's organization and structure, including officer duties, meeting schedules, voting procedures, attendance requirements, and other administrative functions. So think of your bylaws as the commissioner's internal operating framework. And then third are the rules of procedures, again, City of Fernley specific rules of procedures. These rules provide guidance on how meetings are conducted and how land use applications are processed and considered. So the key takeaway here is that while each of these documents serve a different purpose, they work together to guide the commission's actions. So with that foundation in mind, let's take a closer look at your role as a planning commissioner. And I'll turn this over to Scott.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the commission. For the record, Scott Carey. I'm here today as the chapter president for the Nevada chapter of the American Planning Association. It's good to be back in Fernley City Hall and addressing this body again. Appreciate the opportunity. In my day job, I serve as the planning manager for the city of Sparks. But prior to that, I did serve 6 years as a planning commissioner for the city, including 2 years as a member of the Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Commission. So I certainly appreciate your service to your community. I understand the important roles that you play in this planning process. You know, what we like to say is really the Planning Commission is the main job is to provide that citizen's perspective and that citizen's viewpoint of these complicated planning items. You know, you're sitting in the position where you're voting on projects that where millions of dollars are at stake. And a lot of the times you're the deciding body on those items, things like a conditional use permit. Other times it could be a recommending to the city council. And so I certainly appreciate your role and all that you do with that. You know, one of the big things and important roles of the Planning Commission is you're there to provide the public process and oversee that to make sure that citizens' input is provided. And so as a big part of that, it's what we've been doing with our training as a chapter around the state is to make sure that planning commissioners have the tools that they need in their roles, and that you're coming to these meetings prepared, you're coming to the meetings engaged, and you're able to ask questions. You know, one of the big things we like to say Make sure you read the dang staff reports. Your staff spends a lot of time, and I know you from watching some of your meetings, you guys are very good about doing that. But it's important stuff. The applicants are paying big fees to the city to go through this process. Staff spending a lot of time putting together those findings. Let's make sure that you do that. And one of the big things too is kind of part of that public process. Obviously state law allows local governments to have planning and zoning authority. We kind of have that home rule. It's one of the one things in Nevada that local governments are allowed to do, have been delegated from the state to do. And so with that, there are specific findings that you have to make on different items. Conditional use permits, for instance, there's specific findings dealing with compatibility, public process, making sure it's conformance with your master plan that every jurisdiction follows. And so to make sure that you're doing that, if you're going to deny something, make sure you base it in fact and you base it on those findings. If you're going to approve something, prove it based on those findings as well too. Not just because you don't like the developer. A judge will throw that out all day long. One important resource I just wanted to highlight, the Nevada Attorney General's Office has a great open meeting law manual that is available for your review. It provides a lot of good guidance, but really the big thing is with the public process is making sure that it's open and it's transparent. All of the information that you have, the expectation is under the open meeting law is that information that you receive, that the public gets it at the same time. And that when you're basing your decisions, you're doing it on publicly available information. And really it comes down to, in the open meeting law and being transparent, is to maintain that public trust. And if you're operating outside of the open meeting law, we lose that public trust, and that's not a good thing in this planning world. Just a couple of items here, making sure that you have, when you're outside of the public process, make sure that you're not telling anyone, or never make a decision on how you're going to vote outside of this kind of outside of the meeting. Never tell anyone how you're gonna vote on something. Don't come to these meetings as predetermined. It makes for an easy lawsuit, and it kind of whittles away that public trust. But really, it's your job is to help control the meeting, have public comment, have that go on, and big part of it. A couple of things to look out for when you're looking at projects is disclosures and abstentions. And I think every planning commissioner, it'll happen in your time where there may be a conflict that arises, and you'll either need to make a voluntary disclosure, or if not, or if it gets to a higher level, you may need to abstain from that item. There's three kind of key areas that the state guidelines provide. It's a gift or a loan when you're dealing with an applicant. Second one is pecuniary interest. That could be something like a business decision or a business relationship that you may have on a project. If you're the owner of a cell tower and the cell tower is coming before this body, obviously you would probably want to recuse yourself from that item. Then the other one is a commitment in a private capacity. This could be a family relationship, this could be a business relationship, or it could be a close personal friend. And I think the message here to take away is disclosure or abstention. Check with your legal counsel. If there is a conflict, there's nothing wrong with making a voluntary public disclosure. If there's a serious then abstain. And if you're gonna abstain, make sure you leave the room. Because one of the things that has happened is people will wait till the end of the item to make their disclosure or abstain from it, and they've been in the room the whole time. That wouldn't look good on a lawsuit, and a case could be made that you're influencing the decision by just being in the room and making gestures. Here's, when in doubt, make a voluntary disclosure. One item that happened when I was sitting on the Sparks Planning Commission, I had a distant relative of mine, a second cousin of my niece, apparently was the applicant. I didn't know he was the applicant until he was in the room. So got with the legal counsel and made a voluntary disclosure. Anything within the third degree of consanguinity is when you want to abstain. Anything above that, it doesn't hurt to just do a voluntary disclosure. This is a graph from the Ethics commission that kind of shows those relationships and when that degree of consanguinity comes in and when you should not be involved. Basically, if it's in the gray, stay away from it. If it's in the white, you're okay, but it may be good just in the interest of public disclosure to make a disclosure. With that, I would just kind of say, another good resource we do have available as a chapter is our Nevada State Planning Guide. This is a document that the chapter wrote in 2017, has a lot of good information about open meeting laws and ethics and the planning process in general. And encourage you to, if you're also looking for additional resources, our partners at the Nevada Ethics Commission have some great additional resources that are available for free. And they do some great training as well too.
Thank you, Scott. So I'm just going to highlight some few City of Fernley specific rules and procedures. So this identifies certain acts of behaviors for persons appearing before the commission, and this includes for planning commissioners themselves. So first is that the rules prohibit the use of profanity, vulgar language, or inappropriate gestures. So while public meetings often involve passionate opinions and strong viewpoints, all participants are expected to communicate in a professional and respectful manner. Second, the rules also prohibit language that insults or demeans another person. It is important to note that members of the public have the right to comment on performance, conduct, and qualifications of public officials. However, personal attacks and disrespectful comments directed at individuals are not appropriate. So this happens, and how do you address personal attacks when you see them going on at your meetings? Here's an example of a chair statement, what the chair could say. Your comments regarding city staff or commissioner so-and-so have been noted. Please limit your remarks to issues relevant to the application before the commission. And it just stops it there. So that's one that I would just have written down and ready to go so that you're able to address that in the moment. Third, the rules require comments to be relevant to the matter being considered. So comments that are unrelated, repetitive, or frivolous can really distract from the commissioner's work. And make it more difficult to conduct an efficient meeting. Fourth is the rule that speakers do not interrupt others or engage in disruptive behavior, which includes interrupting testimony, speaking out of turn, applauding, cheering, jeering, and other actions that interfere with the orderly conduct of the meeting. Fifth is the rules that also prohibit behavior that reasonably intimidates others. Everyone appearing before the commission, whether an applicant, staff member, commissioner, or member of the public, should feel comfortable participating without fear of intimidation or harassment. So the key takeaway is that these rules are not intended to limit public participation or differing opinions. Instead, they help ensure that all viewpoints can be heard in an environment that is respectful, fair, and productive. As commissioners, it is your responsibility to model this behavior and help maintain the professional decorum throughout the meeting. Next, I'll go into making our decisions, right? So earlier, Scott talked about findings and how they're incredibly important in the work that you do. And county commissioners can use several tools to avoid common pitfalls when making your decisions. And these tools will help ensure that your decisions are legally sound, transparent, and aligned with the community long-term vision. The first main tool that I want to talk about is thorough documentation of your findings. Maintain thorough documentation of findings and decisions to justify your actions in case of legal disputes. So the definition of what is a definition of a finding? Findings are the official conclusions or determinations made by a governing body, such as a county commission or planning commission, when deciding on a master plan amendment, zoning change, or land use decisions. Again, these findings are based on evidence, facts, and applicable laws and serve as the legal and rational basis for approving or denying a proposal. Findings are established written criteria, meaning they go in the record for approving or denying an application. The second tool that I have for you is to use data-driven decision-making. Rely on traffic studies, environmental assessments, and economic impact reports to make informed decisions. Those are just some of the examples of the data tools that you have to make your decisions. And then lastly, consult your planning staff and experts. Work with the planning department, your legal counsel, and subject matter experts to assess your findings. So what are your required findings? Your required findings do provide that legal basis. And as Scott went over earlier, it is your job to understand what your required findings are. And those required findings will be identified in the staff report, and they'll reference in your code where those findings are cited. Note that different applications may have different findings, but your decision must be tied to the specific findings required by the code. So review the staff report, and then lastly, explain why your findings are met or not met. Again, perhaps the most important responsibility of a commissioner is to explain why the finding is met or not met. When making a motion, avoid simply stating that you support or oppose the project. Instead, connect your decisions back to the required findings. For example, rather than saying, I don't think this project fits here, a stronger statement would be, I find that the application does not meet finding number 3 because the evidence presented does not demonstrate compatibility with surrounding land uses, something to that nature. And lastly, focus on evidence, not personal preference. So the key takeaway on this slide is that commissioners' decisions should be based on facts, not personal opinions or public popularity. So to illustrate this, a project may be unpopular and still meet the required findings. Likewise, a project may be desirable, but cannot be approved if the required findings are met. So this is just labeled a practice round. This is a true situation that happened at a planning commissioner meeting. I'm not going to say where, but it was in Nevada. So let's pretend I'm an applicant and I'm giving you a presentation. And it's about public schools versus private schools. And I'm wanting to develop a private school. Since March of 2020, public and private education has been in a space never experienced before in educational history in Nevada. The devastating pandemic, however, generated increased interest in innovation, both as a concept and as a strategy to rethink what a school is, what it looks like, and how it operates. Take a look at state of Nevada 10-year comparisons for private school enrollment. You can see that prior to 2021 to 2022 school year, private school enrollment across the state averaged between 19,000 and 20,000 students. Then in 2021 and 22 school year, we began to see a drastic increase in private school enrollment, which to date represents a 17.4% increase in private school enrollment since the pandemic. As such, the applicant's master plan proposal is consistent with private school enrollment trends across the state of Nevada. The changing circumstances in the area, shifts in community needs, justify the amendment to the existing master plan. Now, let's say at this public hearing, the seats are filled, and you hear a bunch of public community members voicing concerns about noise impacts to the neighborhood. So you decide as a commissioner to deny the master plan amendment, and you state on the record that you are denying the master plan amendment because you wouldn't want the sound of kids playing in your backyard either. That decision is based on personal opinion and maybe the popular vote of what you're hearing from your community members. The issue with the decision is not that it's not based solely on data, it's merely assumption that the school would generate excessive noise without any supporting evidence. So let's go back to your key tools. Here are some hypothetical data-driven findings that you could use to base your denial on. Noise and environmental impact assessments, traffic impact studies, zoning and land use studies, or maybe public safety reports. So again, justify your findings. Lastly, I wanted to give you an example of case law. This happened in 1984. This was City Council of Reno versus Travelers Hotel. So Travelers Hotel sought a zoning change from City Council of Reno to redevelop its property. The City Council denied the request, and Travelers Hotel challenged the decision in court, arguing that the denial was arbitrary and capricious. The issue was that the City Council denial of the zoning change was the issue of the City Council's denial of the zoning change justified, or was it arbitrary and capricious decision lacking a rational basis? The Nevada Supreme Court ruled in favor of Travelers Hotel, finding that the City Council's decision was arbitrary and capricious because it lacked substantial evidence to justify the denial. In other words, even if the evidence was there, it wasn't stated on the record. They didn't justify their findings for the record, and therefore Travelers Hotel overruled that decision by the City Council. All right. Whoop. Speeding through so that you have time for questions. In summary, a planning commission's authority is not just a privilege, it's a responsibility, and it's a responsibility to your community. County commissioners can use several tools to avoid the common pitfalls when making decisions. And luckily, you are not alone. So remember that one of your tools is to work with your planning department, your legal counsel, and subject matter experts to assess the feasibility and implications of your decisions. And something that I always like to remember is when in doubt, legal is there to help you out. So with that, I'd like to take a moment to thank you guys for your time and letting us come to present to you. It's my sincere hope that you found some value in the information we presented to you today. And I think we have about 8 minutes, and we are here to answer any questions that you might have, or do our best to answer.
Thank you very much. That was a great presentation, and we definitely appreciate you all being here. Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Wagner, do you have a question?
Nope.
Okay.
Mr. Carey, good to see you again.
Thank you, Commissioner. It's good to hear your voice. Wish you were here with your colleagues. No, again, Madam Chair, just thank you for the opportunity. You guys fulfill an important role in the planning process. Just know, as a chapter, we're here to help you, help support your staff as well too with technical trainings and outreach. You have a very important job that you play, kind of being the stewards of your master plan. And I think that hopefully this training leads in pretty good to the next item. Very exciting to hear about the update and all the good work that's going on out here, but just appreciate the opportunity.
Commissioner Flores?
Now, as I understand it, the Nevada state has the authority to overrule any planning determination within the city, any city in Nevada. Am I correct about that? If they pass a specific rule that the cities have to follow that. Am I not right?
Yeah, Commissioner, thank you for the question. I don't believe that there is a mechanism for the state of Nevada to come in and overrule a local land use authority. A lot of the times, when the decision is made, that'll go to the district court or above from there. One of the unique things about Nevada planning law is that this is a unique power that the legislature has specifically delegated to local governments to implement. There are rare circumstances, kind of wearing a former hat of mine running the state land use planning agency with the Nevada Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. There is a body that's called the State Land Use Planning Advisory Council, and they do have a unique power that's within NRS. It's currently under review by the Sunset Committee of the legislature, where upon request, a local government can file for relief or remediation when there's a conflict that arises between one adjacent land use plan and another adjacent land use plan. So one example of that would be like City of Sparks. Say Story County does not like a land use decision that we've made. They could petition on that. That has never been implemented at the state level, but local land use decisions are kept at the local land use. Hopefully that doesn't change, right, Commissioner?
Okay, thank you very much. Very good. Thank you.
All right. And I think that's it. Again, thank you so much. Very helpful. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 2.2, presentation by Matrix Design Group to introduce the Comprehensive Master Plan 2050. The 2050 update and provide an overview of the process, estimated timeline, and anticipated community outreach.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Michelle Rambo, Planning Director for the record. I am going to turn this over to our representative for our consultant group, but I just did want to, for those of you who may not have heard, we are doing an update to the master plan. It's expected to take about 1.5 to 2 years, and this will be very public forward. And Fred here is going to explain some of the process and some of how we're going to do that. So I'm going to turn it over to him.
Thank you, Michelle. My name is Fred Turnier. I'm the consultant with Matrix Design Group that is working with your city staff on the 2050 Comprehensive Master Plan. And I appreciate you having the APA, Scott and Anne Marie here, because they set up this perfectly. So this fits well. So thank you, Michelle, for consciously or not setting that up. We are going to talk in this presentation a little bit about the role of the Planning Commission, but I'm going to defer just a lot to what APA has stated, just because they hit it right on. And so the project team just want to let you know that for the city of Fernley, we're working with Michelle and Tristan. On the Matrix side, my name is Fred Turnier. I've been working in actually across the country, but specifically some time in Nevada for the past 25 plus years. I've held positions in both the public and the private sector. On the public side, I've held positions as Community and Economic Development Director for the city of Fernley, for the city of Reno. On the private side, I've worked around the country just helping local government primarily with comp plan updates, efficiency studies, strategic planning. And so this is actually really exciting for me because I'm back in Fernley helping with this plan. I've been before the Fernley Planning Commission many times. I'm new to this board right here, this commission. And so thank you again for having us. Some other folks on our team, Bren Cox, he's the co-project manager. He's worked on master plans, general plan amendments throughout the Southwest and the West. And Shane Ammerman, who has primarily worked on projects in the Mountain West, but he is a former planner out of Clark County. So that's important because a lot of times in the Nevada Revised Statute 278, it's applicable. They're a bigger jurisdiction, but it's still applicable. So the agenda for today, we're going to be talking about what is the Comprehensive Master Plan. We're going to talk a little bit about the role of the Planning Commission because Scott and the group did a fine job on that. We're going to talk about public engagement and project timelines and next steps. The important thing is that if you have some questions, we're here to help answer those. So what is a comprehensive master plan? The master plan, one, it's comprehensive. We try to address many issues. It's broad in scope and it's long range. So think of your development code as a recipe. And the comprehensive plan is maybe those pictures you see on menus in the restaurant. Hey, this looks like a great menu item, but the recipe is in the code. So what is it not? It's not regulatory. It provides guidance. It establishes or supports the vision of the community. It's not unchangeable. It's very flexible, and it's built that way specifically because the desires of the community changes over time. It doesn't give any specific property direction, but influences the land use decisions. We'll be talking about findings of fact here shortly. And it also informs the capital improvement programs. So it's not a capital improvement program. The city has a capital improvement program that they're working on, and it's a basis for plans and growth in the future. For instance, in Fernley, we have talked about the population exceeding 40,000 people. That is big. So that impacts everything from roads, sewer, water, services, fire protection, etc. So the 2050 plan is a long-term policy document. So it outlines the city's vision for the future. Again, as I mentioned, it's a broad policy document. It's long-term, so we're looking at 20 plus years. And 2050 isn't a perfect 20 years, but likely what's going to happen is that once this is adopted, 5-10 years, somewhere after that, it's going to be updated again because things change. But it's a basis for decision-making by the Planning Commission. So as Anne Marie and Scott brought up about the findings, is it compatible? Does it conform with the master plan policies? And also the city uses those policies in strategic planning. So tie in with that. So kudos to the city of Fernley because not too many jurisdictions actually tie in their comp plan policies with the strategic plan. So the master plan elements, the elements, these are defined under Nevada revised statute, but housing, land use, public facilities and services, conservation, open space, recreation, safety, transportation, and also we're doing some supplemental elements of above ground utilities plan and the Pioneer Trail historic resource. What we have on the right here is just the current plan that was adopted in 2018. So actually, before I jump into the role of the Planning Commission, I'm just going to stop there and ask the Planning Commission if you have any questions about what is inside a comprehensive plan. Okay. So the role of the Planning Commission, I feel like that again, APA is a great resource for the Planning Commission and staff. So the role and responsibility of Planning Commission is review and provide feedback on this draft plan. I want to, be a little selfish and say that we will be looking to you to review the draft plan, conduct the public hearings that are required for the master plan. And also, as the master plan is adopted, part of the implementation is in your role. And that includes looking at projects, overall project consistency with the master plan, discretionary land use, findings of fact, and some examples there's the master plan amendment, zone change, tentative maps, and also capital improvement program advisory. And that is, again, if one of the things that the Planning Commission does control is timing of infrastructure, just because there is a water line that's depicted on a map for the future, that may not be ready for today. That may be a decision in a year, 2 years, 3 years. So you do control timing of decision making. For public engagement, our approach is inclusive, informative, and validating. And again, as APA has mentioned, we do things based on facts for decision making. So we don't want to make any assumptions about the vision. We don't want to make assumptions about the policy. We will always be going back to validating our thoughts about it, checking if we have any biases, and going through that process. So part of our engagement is a 24/7, 365 project website and we have the website right there, fernleycmp2050.com. It's going to be our main source of updates. We're going to have informational materials. Every time we do a presentation, we're going to go and upload that presentation onto the website. We have an interactive map called ID Places, which And maybe in a future meeting, we can do a presentation, a live presentation of what that looks like. But if there's an issue, say, in roads, traffic, and say, Shadow Lane, there's issues with traffic over there. You can actually put an icon on that roadway and talk about, we have an issue on Shadow regarding traffic. Maybe Shadow isn't a good example, but you got my point. Also, we're going to have community questionnaires, which also is going to include visual preferences. Just because when we talk about single-family housing, we all have some assumptions about that. And we want to verify that, validate, and get some input from the community and the Planning Commission regarding just some visual preferences. So with housing, we're also going to share multifamily. We have heard that two-story is kind of the natural height for development. I do know that we do have ironically, a three-story that has been approved in the past, but again, we want to get those visual preferences regarding density. And so that would be included in the questionnaire. Also, comment forms, you'll be able to provide comments on our website, and that will go to the group, and we will aggregate that into themes, and email sign up to get information and frequently asked questions. So this website is a living website, so it's always going to be updated. And for the project team, we want to keep pointing towards that website for people who have any information about the process, what's been said, just some of the materials that are out there. We'll point them to the website. We're also proposing 3 community meetings. And so the first meeting, community meeting 1 is, and we're looking at, I like to say late summer of 2026. We want to inform the community about the vision, guiding principles of the comprehensive master plan update. For community meeting 2, we're looking at the fall of 2026, engage the community in exploring, evaluating different options for growth and development. I think infrastructure for the community is going to drive a lot of that. North of the canal, south of the canal, the discussions north of Interstate 80, south of Interstate 80. But we're going to have that conversation. And then community meeting 3 in February of 2027. We're looking to provide residents, businesses, stakeholders an opportunity to review some of the administrative drafts that will then be used as feedback into our final master plan. So additionally, we talked about some of these items already in the community meetings. We will talk about visioning, issues and opportunities mapping. So we'll have maps up here. We can either have the community meeting here at City Hall or at the community center. Again, we'll have questionnaires both in paper and electronic. Youth activities, that was something we can talk to city staff about, but sometimes that helps bring people out when they could bring their children with them, and we can provide some activities while the parents are engaging. And also, as we mentioned, some visual preferences. So timeline and our next steps. So as we mentioned, this is going to be about an 18+ month process. We are looking at our community meetings, July, September 2026. Visioning, policy development will be in the fall and winter. Early next year, we are looking at drafting the plan, additional community meetings, public draft, and the adoption process in June of 2027. The Planning Commission is a part of that process. So from a milestone standpoint, you will be officially part of the public hearing process, but we're proposing some joint council Planning Commission meetings. TBD will work with staff and on what days that would be appropriate to go ahead and have those meetings. They're not depicted up here yet because we would just be at this point estimating. So again, we'll be working with staff on those specific times and dates. So over the next 90 days, this is just kind of putting dates to what we have brought up. One thing I want to point out to the group is our first steering committee meeting. Remember a couple meetings ago, you had people volunteered to be part of our steering committee, and we have a majority of them available for the Thursday, the 26th. Is Thursday 20? I think that may be the 25th. 25th. So June 25th, here at the Fishbowl. And the steering committee, will be working with them, just kind of at a micro level, just explaining what the process is, gaining their input, going through some SWOT analysis, visioning process with them. And again, very important group moving forward. We're also giving updates to, we're meeting monthly with Tristan and Michelle and giving updates. So I would imagine in these meetings, Michelle, you'll be providing updates as needed during this process. We have signed up for the 4th of July event, Fernley 25, America 250. And so that's exciting. One of the first tasks, big reports that we're doing is existing conditions. That's July of 2026. So think of that as a snapshot. We think we know what is going on in Fernley, but we are working with city staff. We are gathering information to create that snapshot for an existing conditions report. And then part of that is the validating. Okay, this is what we're seeing. This is what some of the issues may be. These are maybe some of the initiatives. And again, we have our focus group meetings. That is another group that will be working with Michelle and Tristan with just regarding business owners and some really focused groups within the community. And that could be the business, that could be education, that could be recreation. I know recreation is very big out here. So, we want to make sure that we're touching base with those folks. So I'm going to keep it on this slide right here, and I'm going to pause to see if Planning Commission has any questions.
I have two questions. The website that you gave, is that for Planning Commission and public?
Yes, it's a project website, so it's publicly facing.
We can submit as well as the public.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
But because where you're sitting, you could probably also go through,
Yeah.
Michelle and Tristan.
We have that direct. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then my second question is as a starting point, are we taking in all the consideration from like the discussions that we've had for the north area and south? Okay, to get it started. Okay.
Did you answer that, Michelle?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that was part of, one of our first steps was request for information. So it's just getting information from the city so we don't have to be duplicative in the work that we do.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that website as well. Commissioner Flores?
Yeah, I have a question. How many people are in your steering committee? Just out of hand, do you remember?
8.
Okay, that's what I need to know. I thought it was a big mob, so good. It's a workable number. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions or comments, commissioners? Commissioner Wagner or Commissioner Lewis? You're good? All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate this presentation. Definitely looking forward to all these next steps for sure.
It's a lot of work, a lot of hours that go into it. So I appreciate everyone's time and devotion to the city and this important aspect of it.
We're going to chunk these out in small digestible pieces, right?
That's the only way to eat it.
That's right.
So, thank you.
All right. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, moving on to agenda item 3, public hearings. Um, Item 3, huh? Yeah. Item 3.1, discussion and possible action on a conditional use permit, CUP 26001, submitted by Wood Rogers on behalf of Maverick to construct a 34-pump gas station with a 5,982 square foot convenience store located within Victory District Plan Development on a 4.54 acre site generally located south of Interstate 80, west of Nevada Pacific Parkway, and north of Duffy Road, currently APN 021-211-04, which is zoned planned development.
Good evening, Commission. Associate Planner Lisa Warner for the record. The background on this project, the subject site is 4.54 acres, located south of Interstate 80, west of Nevada Pacific Parkway, and north of Duffy Road within the Victory Logistics District, which is zoned planned development. The proposed 34-pump gas station and 5,982 square foot convenience store will be part of the Maverick Fueling Stations chain. As this is a vacant lot with no construction, the conditional use permit is needed to establish the new use and allow for new construction. There's a map showing the little parcel that it will be on. And then there's a picture of the renderings of what the gas station fuel pumps will look like and then what the convenience store will look like. So the conditional use permit findings, we've been talking a lot about findings tonight, so we have some for this conditional use permit. The proposed conditional use will be in compliance with the comprehensive master plan. It meets the comprehensive master plan as well as the zoning designation for this parcel as planned development. Since the development agreement and the planned development are in the place, the proposed project is an appropriate use and complies with the master plan. The conditional use will be compatible with existing or permitted uses of adjacent properties. It's located in a planned development that's done for industrial and commercial uses, and the proximity to I-80 makes the location ideal for this proposed use. The potential impairment of natural resources and the total population which the available resources will support without unreasonable impairment. There are no known natural resources that will be impaired for this subject parcel in this project. The availability and need for affordable housing does not apply, so condition 4 cannot be met. But since there is not a residential component, that is fine. Finding number 5, the impacts have been conditioned to address identified impacts. The project as designed has addressed all necessary standards identified in the approved Victory Logistics Plan Development Handbook. In finding number 6, public notice has been given. It was completed on May 27th, 2026 in the Reno Gazette Journal, as well as it was sent out by mail. So we did have some discussion the last couple of days regarding the conditions of approval. So that is why the traffic report is set in front of you guys. It's a revised traffic memo with a site plan, as well as a potential revision for a recommendation. These are the conditions that we agreed to change. Number 17 will change from Fernley Access Management city engineer approval to NDOT approval because it affects Duffy Road, which is an NDOT road. Number 19 and number 21 will change the reference from final subdivision map to permit, and will remove condition 36 entirely, as those conditions are not triggered by the actual Maverick project. There is a right to appeal this decision tonight. You have to do that by June 21st. And then I have a recommended motion here, but as I said, I put an updated recommended motion up there on the back of the packet. So do you have any questions?
Thank you so much. Commissioner Flores.
I just have a general planning question that I have a blank spot on. Do you make a distinction between fueling automobiles and trucks? Is there a distinction there? In general, our procedures?
No.
There's no distinction between those? So these could be also trucks that can fuel up here on this site.
I'll defer that to Michelle, just to.
The applicant is here and has a presentation. That may be
Yeah.
something they can address.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I don't think we have any.
Okay, and then our applicant is here. Wood Rogers is going to have a presentation for you all as well. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Derek Kirkland with Wood Rogers, representing Maverick, the applicant. And we also, the landowner is still Victory Logistics, who we also have here with us tonight. So I think Lisa did a great job. So I just wanted one clarification. I want to make one clarification. So there was a recent boundary line adjustment that was completed. So the new parcel number associated with the boundary line adjustment is 021-21110. Same kind of area that you see there. I just want to make that quick clarification. So this is obviously, as she mentioned, in the Victory Logistics district, right off of I-80 on Duffy Road. It is zoned Victory Commercial. And so the Victory Commercial does allow for gas stations, but it does require a conditional use permit, which is why we submitted that. Part of the PD requires us to, before we even can submit to the city, we have to get a conditional approval from Mark IV to be before you through Victory Logistics. So we've worked with them for the last several months, which is ultimately where the boundary line adjustment came from. And they have tentatively approved kind of the plans and what we're proposing, still coordinating with them through their process as well. But as you can see, they're here tonight and we've been coordinating with them directly. A little bit about the site. So this is the site plan. You can see we do have a place for autos and we do have a place in the back for trucks and RVs. So we will have different fueling stations, and we do, in terms of access, NDOT basically owns Nevada Pacific Parkway coming in off of 80. And then currently the city of Fernley owns or manages Nevada Pacific Parkway going south there at the moment. And Duffy Road is also NDOT. So as this project moves forward, we're going to have to get encroachment permits from NDOT, but we did design the access points under NDOT access management standards. So we do have, coming in off of Nevada Pacific Parkway, we will have a right in. So only limited to right in there just because of the proximity to that intersection. And then we'll have a full movement further to the south, which we have designed so that also will provide future access to the vacant parcel to the south. We have designed everything to handle trucks and RVs. So we have extra wide drive aisles, and we've run all the circulation to make sure that works. And then you'll see basically the autos are kind of there down to the, basically at the bottom there, closest to Duffy. And then we'll have the truck and RV will basically be at the top closer to I-80, where they have plenty of room to kind of move around in there. Landscape requirements. So we are required to landscape 10%. As the site plan shown here, we're actually up to 20%, so almost double the landscape requirement there. Parking, we're required a minimum of 24 spaces, and we actually show 32. And then we have about 20 vehicle fueling positions. So there are, the reason we call them vehicle fueling positions is basically there's pumps in the back. Some of the truck areas will actually have multiple pumps, so that's why there's 34 pumps. But overall, we have about 20 vehicle fueling positions between the autos, trucks, and RVs. And from a traffic perspective, so there is an overall traffic study that was done for the Victory Logistics PD. We coordinated with them directly, gave them all of our inputs. Traffic generation's about 4,000 ADT. And then we basically, working with Victory Logistics, determined that this site, so basically the existing project or existing traffic conditions plus the Maverick project does not trigger any of the off-site improvements that'll be made later as part of the Victory PD. Looking at the building, so this is a rendering of what the building will look like. I think we've all been to Mavericks here and there, so no surprises there, but it's about a 6,000 square foot convenience store. As I mentioned in the last site plan, we'll have auto and truck fueling canopies over the pumps, and this is planned to be a 24-hour operation. And as staff had mentioned, so we did work with staff on some of the conditions. So 17, 19, and 21 are really just clarifications. And 36, we coordinated with them to basically remove that, mainly because with the existing conditions plus Maverick, the level of service at that intersection will remain at a B or a C. And so that does not require any of the offsites. Those offsites are part of the conditions of the overall Victory Logistics and will be made at a later date, mainly once the Nevada Pacific Parkway is actually extended all the way through, and those warrants are met per NDOT standards. But right now they are not, so that's why that condition's coming out of there. So with that, happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Commissioner Wagner?
I just think this project seems like a good thing for Fernley. My only concern on the safety element, I know that we have approved a power district out in the general vicinity of this project. Working with explosive materials, is there some sort of radius, like an explosive radius that could overlap with a potential power plant out in that direction?
Aaron Morton, the city attorney. At this time, there is no power district, and so there's not really any way to measure that as. So I don't think that's something that should be measured in today's analysis.
Okay, so that would come future with the power plant potentially impeding, in theory.
Correct.
All right, I think that answers it then.
All right. Any other questions from the commissioners? All right, Derek, thank you. We'll open this up to public comments. Is there anybody that wishes to provide, to give public comment on this matter? Anybody on Zoom? All right. Commissioners, any last minute discussions?
I do.
Commissioner Lewis?
Yes. How long will the process take with NDOT? Has the process of discussing this project with them already began? Or is that something you guys are moving forward to scheduling?
Madam Chair, may I address that?
Go, please do.
This is Derek Kirkland, Wood Rogers. We have started those discussions with NDOT already. Before we submitted the CUP, we actually did work with them to make sure what we were shown was going to work. So now, post the CUP process, we'll continue working with them. We anticipate probably about 3 to 4 months to get our encroachment permit.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, if there's no more discussion or questions, can I get a motion? Commissioner Williams?
I move to approve the conditional use permit associated with CUP 26001, subject to the modified conditions as presented by staff. I further move to adopt findings 1 through 3 and 5 through 6 for the conditional use permit and the facts supporting these findings as set forth in the staff report.
Thank you. And may I have a second? Commissioner White?
I second that motion.
Okay. Can we please vote? Chairwoman Garvin votes yes.
I vote yes.
All right, and that passes 6-0. Thank you. Moving on to item 3.2. Discussion and possible action regarding CUP 25004, a conditional use permit requested by 890 Fremont Street LP to allow for a multifamily residential development consisting of 293 units in the MDR 14 medium density residential maximum 14 DU/AC zoning district on a site approximately 26.47 acres in size, generally located north of Fremont Street, south of US Interstate 80, west of Wildwood Drive, and east of Vine Street, Fernley, Nevada. APNs 021-092-05, 021-092-23, 021-092-26, 021-092-27, 021-092-55, 021-092-58, 021-092-59, and 021-092-60.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Tristan Rodriguez, Senior Planner for the record. The item before you tonight is CUP 25004, a conditional use permit to allow a multifamily residential development consisting of 293 units within the MDR 14 zoning district. The subject site is approximately 26.47 acres in size and is generally located north of Fremont Street, south of I-80, west of Wildwood Drive, and east of Vine Street. The applicant is also requesting an amendment to an associated development agreement under separate application that will be presented immediately following this item. Okay, so the applicant is requesting approval of a conditional use permit to allow for multifamily residential development exceeding 100 units within the MDR 14 zoning district. The proposed project consists of 293 duplex-style residential units on approximately 26.47 acres. The site carries a mixed residential designation within the Fernley Comprehensive Master Plan and is zoned MDR 14, which permits a maximum density of 14 dwelling units per acre. The proposed density is approximately 11.07 dwelling units per acre, which is below the maximum density permitted within the zoning district. As mentioned previously, the applicant is also seeking approval of a concurrent amendment to the associated development agreement under separate application DA 22002 AMD 1. The subject property is located north of Fremont, south of I-80, east of Vine, west of Wildwood. And as shown on the slide, the surrounding zoning includes a mixture of residential zoning designations with Interstate 80 separating the project from additional properties to the north. The proposed use is a multifamily residential development, which is a use that may be approved within the MDR 14 zoning district through approval of a conditional use permit. This slide shows the overall site layout proposed by the applicant. Again, the project has 293 duplex-style residential units arranged throughout the site with internal private streets, parking areas, recreational amenities, landscaping, and stormwater retention facilities. Primary access is proposed from Fremont Street through a gated entrance, and an emergency access connection is proposed to Vine Street. The project also includes pedestrian connections throughout the site, common open space areas, perimeter landscaping, and supporting infrastructure necessary to serve the development. Pursuant to Fernley Municipal Code, the Planning Commission must make 6 findings in order to approve the conditional use permit. Staff evaluated the application against each required finding and find that all findings can be made. First, the proposal is consistent with the comprehensive master plan. The property is designated mixed residential and is zoned MDR 14, and the proposed density remains below the maximum density permitted within this district. Second, staff finds that the project is compatible with surrounding and existing and permitted land uses. The project incorporates 1- and 2-story structures, perimeter landscaping, fencing, pedestrian connectivity, and centralized amenities designed to reduce impacts on surrounding properties. Third, staff finds the project will not result in unreasonable impairment of natural resources or public infrastructure systems. Supporting drainage, sewer, traffic, utility, and infrastructure analysis were submitted and reviewed as part of this application. Fourth, the project contributes additional housing opportunities within the community. The applicant has indicated the project is intended to serve households between approximately 50 and 70% of area median income. And fifth, staff finds potential impacts have been adequately addressed through project design, applicable city standards, and proposed conditions of approval. Finally, staff finds that all public notice and hearing requirements have been satisfied in accordance with Fernley Municipal Code and Nevada Revised Statutes. Staff is recommending approval of CUP 25004, and the recommended motion is on the screen. I do want to specifically note for the commission that staff is requesting an addition of one condition that was identified after publication of the agenda packet. Should the commission choose to approve this request, staff recommends that that motion specifically be included as part of your motion. For the reversion of acreage, this condition requires that the applicant complete the complete and record a reversion to acreage for all affected parcels prior to issuance of any building permits subject to city approval. If the commission is unable to make one or more of the required findings, an alternate motion for denial is provided on the screen. Any motion for denial should identify the specific finding or findings that cannot be made and the supporting rationale. This concludes my presentation, and at this time, I will now pass it over to the applicant, who also has a detailed presentation they'd like to present to you all.
Wait for the presentation to come up.
Apologize for this. It looks like they are working on getting the presentation up, so hopefully it shouldn't be too much longer.
No problem. Thank you. May I proceed, Madam? Perfect. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Chris, good to see you. Aaron, Chris Molina, your outside counsel. Good to see him as well. For
For the record, Garrett Gordon, Land Use and Zoning Attorney representing projects in Northern Nevada. My pleasure today to represent Lincoln Avenue communities, specifically Brian Maloney and Jack Bowen are here with me tonight to answer any questions for you. Also, we have our engineer here, Dave Snellgrove with Bowman, to answer any questions as well. So I'm going to run through a presentation and then we can answer any of your questions. So thank you, Madam Chair. So as you heard from staff, 293 units, a use permit for this approval, and the density is 11 units per acre. I think that's important in that this zoning district allows 14 dwelling units per acre. So we're certainly not pushing the limits of the zoning that's allowed on this property. It's actually about over 20% lower than what's currently allowed at 293 units. Second, which I think is important, is this site has been previously entitled. It's been master planned for this use and comprehensive plan for this use. It's been rezoned for this use. There was a prior use permit for this use and also a tentative subdivision map for this use. And that was a 316 three-story apartment project, which is currently on the books. Our request tonight to you is certainly lowering the units down to 293 and also going from three-story apartments to two-story townhomes, which I think is important to give some context of where we are and where we'd like to go with this project. The unit mix you can see is between 944 to 1,500 square feet, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 4-bedroom homes, and targeted for workforce housing. I'll hit your conditions in a little bit, but one of your use permit conditions is focused on this attainable workforce housing. So this project definitely checks that box. I'll try not to be redundant from city staff, but there's 8 parcels. Those would be combined in the 26.47 total acres. The site is surrounded by residential uses. So we're not trying to drop in a residential project that's incompatible with, say, industrial, commercial adjacency. This isn't a residential neighborhood with existing zoning at MDR 14. As I mentioned, the site has previously received multiple development-related approvals, with the latest, that apartment project I mentioned. Existing site conditions are vacant. We believe that's obviously underutilized, and that once this is transformed into this workforce townhome project, it will be a lot more productive and tax generating for the city. And let me note, it is considered an infill project. You can see that second note here. All the urban services are here. It's not as if we have a big water line to bring in or a big sewer line to bring in or drainage or traffic. There's not enough infrastructure. It's all there, which is great. And so this really is focused on your comprehensive plan, your zoning district, and the prior CUP that was approved. All the reports have been completed. You heard the APA, which was great to follow. It's good to see in the APA here. A lot of time and effort and resources were used for studies for each of those components: water, sewer, drainage, traffic, infrastructure. Your staff has reviewed all those and approved them, which is why they're recommending approval today. I think this is one of the more important slides as well. You can see on the left, master plan designation, mixed use residential. Mr. Tenier, Fred took you through the process that you'll be going through in the future for future amendments of that master plan. But as of now, this is mixed residential. Check the box, we're compliant. Zoning, MDR 14, check the box, we're compliant. And I would say certainly less than what is allowed on this site currently. We're not at the maximum of 14. We're down, which we think is a little bit more appropriate, down to 11 dwelling units per acre, only about 80% of what's allowed. And why are we before you today? Because it's another use permit for multifamily over 100 units. So project design and amenities, really excited about this amenity-rich community designed to enhance quality of life and neighborhood character. The site features include private fenced patios with each unit. Certainly wasn't included in the last project. Again, we talked about the floor plans, the 2, 3, and 4 bedroom configurations. The workforce targeted at that 50 to 70% AMI for the rental households. And there is the internal pedestrian circulation network. The amenities, nice clubhouse, community room, fitness center, playground, barbecue, and outdoor recreation areas, dog park, and dedicated parking throughout the community. So we're certain everyone who's living here can park on site and there will be no off-street parking whatsoever. And just a few renderings of what the project will look like. On the left, an aerial rendering of the 293 duplex units. Again, prior project 3 stories. This is only 2. And then you can see on the right-hand side, the pavilion and dog park, north amenity area. Again, the 1 and 2 story duplex structures we think fits nicely into this area. And another rendering, there's the community buildings as you enter the site off of Fremont. So infrastructure readiness, I touched on this a little bit earlier, but you can see on the right-hand side, analysis complete, study complete, analysis complete. And also, I've been before this body before in the county where I've said, just add a Bureau of Reclamation condition of approval on here, meaning that we'd have to go get it in the future, but we've already got it. So I think that's important. You had a question earlier about what's NDOT going to do for that prior project. Have they been communicated with? We took the effort to go get that approval secured before coming here. So we were certain it would in fact be signed off on. So water and sewer, drainage and stormwater, traffic utilities signed off by our experts and the city's experts as well. Site access, very important. Primary access is coming off of Fremont Street, full turning movement, code compliant driveway, full inbound and outbound turning movements. Staff noted there was 2 emergency access points. This one doesn't show the Wildwood access point, but that would be to the east. But I wanted to highlight on here the Vine Street one. This, even though last go around, this gated emergency access was a condition, but there was no actual requirement for the developer to come in and construct and complete that road, actually bring it up to the improvements that are required in order to not only be gated emergency access for us, but I would argue the neighborhood using that road will now have a road that has been improved. We did work close with your North Lyon County Fire Protection District on that site and on that access point to make sure that they were comfortable with the width, which is 20 feet, and a load rating of 75,000 pounds, so a fire truck could move in and out there without destroying the road. So fire has signed off on this, and again, this is, I would argue, another enhancement to this project versus the prior project on the books. CUP findings, I don't want to be redundant from staff, and you've heard a lot about findings tonight from Fred and about the APA, but certainly, on the legal side, it's important that we satisfy all of them, and staff believes we do, and so do I. The master plan compliance, you can see, I can go through policies all day, but I won't. A requirement for a range of quality housing types in this community, certainly some townhome product checks that box. Support development of multifamily and attached housing products, absolutely. Directs residential growth to areas designated mixed residential. That's exactly what we are today. And I really like this one, encourages workforce housing. So that is what we're planning to build here, and ensures adequate public services and facilities accompany the development. So you heard Vine Street, it's on our dime to improve that. Fremont Street improvements on our dime to improve those curb and gutter requirements. And then obviously everything on site is our requirement. So I think we have on sites, or I know we have on sites that are on our dime and off sites that will not only benefit us, but the surrounding community as well. Speaking of the surrounding community, compatibility with adjacent surrounding uses, absolutely important. I would argue going from 3-story down to, you can hear 1 and 2-story residential, that scale matches a surrounding neighborhood with its massing and character. There's perimeter fencing and landscaping buffer that goes around the project. That certainly provides that buffer to existing residential homes. There's an internal pedestrian circulation network that connects directly to the sidewalk system to promote pedestrian friendly environment. Prior approvals in this corridor established precedent for some comparable residential intensity. So we think it fits in all those boxes very nicely. Not result in unreasonable impairment of natural resources. Staff confirmed that, the project has been reviewed for drainage, sewer, water, traffic, fiscal impact, utilities, and we satisfy that condition. As I mentioned, finding D, that affordable and workforce housing requirement. I think you heard on the gas station, they kind of skipped over that because it wasn't applicable for a gas station, but here absolutely applicable. We're targeting that AMI, mid-range AMI, rental households that provide some needed mixed income housing in the area. And mixed use product supports that community diversity goals. Conditional impacts, you can see our conditions of approval. The project addresses all civil, construction phasing, building, permit requirements. A lot of those are somewhat template, but certainly requires us to not only design with materials consistent with city standards, but do the right-of-way dedications and all the on-site and off-site utilities on our dime. And the staff confirmed public notice was in fact given correctly. So we would respectfully ask you to approve this, that it's the right project on the right site and satisfies all the legal requirements of code. It's compliant. I would even argue, a down zone with less units and less height. All the infrastructure is there. We do think there's a community benefit to that workforce housing. All the findings have been made, and we agree with all the conditions in the staff report, including the one that Treston read on the record in regards to remapping. So I'm here, our team here is here, Madam Chair, and just want to thank the commission for hearing us tonight.
Thank you. It's very informative. I do have one question.
Please.
As I was looking at the project map on the northwest side of the project, it almost looks like the buffer zone is a little bit smaller than like, I can't,
Top right there.
north of Vine Street. So it looks like it's, can you?
Yeah,
Can you
maybe
tell
I'll ask
us-
Mr. Snellgrove, can you come address the buffer, how it maybe meanders on that west side? Or certainly Brian could do it as well. I don't.
Yep.
Thank
For
you.
the record, Dave Snellgrove with Bowman Consulting. I'm planning manager at Bowman. That is really the nature. It was the BOR easement that used to be 100 feet wide, as Mr. Gordon said, that we've already gone through and worked with BOR on that.
So it's
that
100 feet
drainage will
wide?
be piped now and it'll be 30 feet wide. We can't build anything in there. That's why it exists.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm
And-
concerned only because there is rural residential on the other side of that. So I just wanted to make sure that there was.
Yeah, I think I had Brian Maloney, for the record, from Lincoln Avenue Communities, the developer and future project owner. So I think to clarify, it looks narrower in that section, just comparative. So if you go to the plan south of there, that's the revised BOR easement.
Okay.
And so it looks like a wider setback there, but that's just because we can't build anything within the revised BOR easement. So that property line up there setback is consistent with the property line setbacks for the rest of the community. It just looks a little narrower there in comparison to directly south.
Which is also consistent with the zoning requirements.
And it'll
meets
be
those
that
requirements.
easement will be accessible by the residents, potential residents, or is it going to be blocked off?
It's for the BOR's use, so
So-
not a resident space.
Okay. All right. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Of course.
Commissioner Flores.
I just have a question about the northern boundary there that abuts against Interstate 80. That is, I presume that it goes level to the ground right there. What is the distance between the edge of the Interstate 80 and your, let's say, the building lines? Maybe 100 feet, you think, on the average? Right in the north?
Brian, do you know the distance between the freeway and
Yeah,
your
and
property line? I don't
and the
know that off
building
the top of my
line,
head.
and the building line of the last building, Give you an approximate estimate, 150 feet maybe?
I would say that's a fair approximate estimate.
Okay, 150 feet, that's
Yeah.
good. All right, that's what I need to know.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Great question.
Yeah.
Commissioner White.
I have a couple questions. My first one was also about the proximity to the noise there being by Interstate 80. Is there any noise blocking wall or anything for the residents, or is it just hoping that the setback is far enough to diminish it?
As far as the design right now, my understanding is it's the setback and then there's some landscaping buffer along there as well.
Okay. Is there any discussion of like special assessment districts or HOA or LMAs here? Or is that too far to know at this point? For
Is there an HOA here, Brian? I don't think so.
So I think one thing important to state is that this is intended to be a long-term rental community, and we are required by the programs we're part of to at least maintain ownership for 15 years.
Okay.
So we're going to develop it and then be responsible for the maintenance of the community ourselves. So
Did I miss garages, or is it just the interior parking for the homes? There's no garages, am I right?
no garages.
And how many parking spaces per unit are we accounting for?
Yeah, thank you, Dave. 2.33.
It's a team effort here tonight, Commissioner.
I'm glad he's here. Is there any discussion of speed bumps in this area with such kind of high density in kids and playgrounds and safety for?
I think we likely would put some speed bumps there, especially in kind of that initial circle. Just we want people coming in at safe speeds in the community. It's not reflected on its plans, but I think in the final design it would be. So.
And then lastly, can you explain the retention ponds to me? Because sometimes retention ponds are required to be like fenced off by the city because they're not safe for kids to be around. But these are like noted right next to playgrounds. Are they just kind of little shallow outlets that we don't expect to like retain?
Exactly. So we
Much
looked
more?
at in a lot of places, retainage ponds are what we kind of just consider complete wasted space. So it's a existing, basically it's a water pit that's fenced off, looks ugly. But here, we did some calculations on the groundwater percolation, and based on the size and depth of a retainage pond, we found that basically, whenever it rains, it's going to percolate extremely quickly into the ground. And so we designed it with a very gentle slope down. So it's not a unsafe, super steep drop. And in that way, it can, instead of just being a wasted space hole, it's something that, all the days of the year where it's not raining in Fernley, the kids of the community can play there. So.
Awesome. Thank you. That was all my questions.
All right.
I have a question.
Yep, I was just going to call on you.
I don't know that Julianne's question was answered. How many parking spaces per unit are designated or will be assigned?
2.33 per unit.
2.33 per unit. And how many guest spaces?
So those will be for the units themselves and their visiting guests. So total 683 spaces for 293 units.
So each space will have approximately 2.3 spaces per unit. So visitors will be parking on the streets?
No. So we assume that the visitors, our average resident is going to have, maybe 1.75 cars. That's an average across the entire community. And so the visitors will still be able to fit, there's gonna be very few homes with, 2.33 cars. And so that's, we think everything above 1.75 is going to be visitor parking, more or less.
Okay, my only concern with that is that if this is a workforce housing, as you keep describing, and we're going to be building 4 bedrooms, there might be 4 cars for one household.
Okay. Yeah, one item that I wanted to bring up, the code requirement for this type of use requires 2 parking spaces per unit plus a quarter of a space per unit for guest parking. So that guest parking is accommodated within the code standards, and we are exceeding that. Instead of 2.25 per unit, we're 2.33 per unit.
Okay, very good. And I do like the idea of this being duplexes and not being 3 stories. I think the design element of this is a plus for the surrounding neighborhood. So I just wanted to make that comment. My last comment would be, again, it's been brought up in the previous presentation on this particular project, is just the traffic and the concern at that light coming into town. So just wanted to make sure that that's also noted on the record as a concern.
Yeah, a traffic impact analysis was required. We submitted some base information at first, and through the initial staff comments, they required a more rigorous study. We provided that as part of the application. That looked at the intersection going out. One of the improvements that comes along with the Fremont Street improvements is really part of the development agreement case, but it is germane to this site. So that'll have a sidewalk access that goes all the way down to Tractor Supply, which nothing exists there right now. That'll be on the north side of the street.
Okay, very good. That answers my questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, Commissioner Wagner, did you have any questions?
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback on Commissioner Lewis's comments here. I see the traffic description here in the proposal states that a traffic study was not required for this project due to a previous traffic study being performed. I don't see a copy of that in our staff report here. What year was that performed? Am I just missing that?
That previous traffic study was with the apartment project, and we were coming in under the thresholds. Once we submitted the application, the initial comments that came from staff is they wanted us to go back and analyze this particular to this product and this site. So we ended up having to do a traffic impact analysis, which was submitted with our comment responses. So that's what's reflected in what the staff has looked at. And that did analyze the intersection, that analyzed newer uses that had not been in the previous study. I think that was one of the primary concerns that came out, is some of these newer uses that were now existing had not been accounted for.
Was there a level of service rating that was given before and after this project to that specific intersection with the light?
Not being the traffic engineer on the project, I apologize, Commissioner Wagner. I do not know what the particular was and what the actual recommendations were, but if there was any additional widening to lanes for traffic movement, that was accommodated as part of the traffic impact report. I don't know if staff has any additional information.
Okay, I'd like a little bit of additional traffic information, just because this is pretty vague. And then you've referred to the Fremont Street improvements. I know and I'm aging myself here on this planning commission, the last approval of this site, a big issue was the width of Fremont. I think one of the conditions of approval was that the developer needed to acquire the right-of-way from private property owners in order to build the necessary sidewalks, gutters to widen Fremont Street. Is that a part of what is necessary for this?
For the record, thank you, Commissioner, for the question. Garrett Gordon. So you're correct. In the prior approval, there was a requirement for some right-of-way acquisition for their sidewalk, curb and gutter improvements on Fremont. The prior developer owner had been working through that process. We'll actually address that in the next agenda item on the development agreement of where we are with that and how we move forward with it.
Okay, I'll wait for that next agenda item then. Thank you.
And I really appreciate the traffic questions. And I think just to provide a final little summary is we originally were under the old traffic study because we're at, over 20 units less than was studied before. So we did meet that, legal finding of traffic impacts, but we appreciated staff saying, that's great, you have less units, but let's do this again in real time to see what's going on Fremont Street and in those intersections. So as Mr. Snellgrove indicated, we restudied it with the less units in current conditions, and there still wasn't a concern not to recommend approval.
Okay.
Aaron Wordson, the city attorney. I just want to let you know that we did just send Treston to hunt down the traffic study and bring it back in. I don't know if we want to take a brief recess, and if we take a 5-minute recess, we could grab that traffic study and then present that to the commission.
Let's do that. We'll take a 5-minute or 10-minute recess for that traffic study. Thank you.
How are we to be involved in that?
I'm going to send it to you telepathically.
Okay. I mean, Councilman Wagner stated, Cody and I have been on this planning commission for over 10 years now, so I
My
think,
assumption is it's gonna be that same study that we saw last month. Yeah?
okay. Thank you.
That, Aaron, is that the intention to use the same traffic study that was presented to us at our last meeting? Yeah.
It will be using the same study, but it's a study specifically for this project.
Okay.
Did you have a question? Just interested in what you're talking about. Oh, this is stopping traffic. Oh, good. So I live on Fernley. Oh, you do? Right across the street from this place.
Hi, Brian Maloney, good to meet you.
Hi, Brian. Question for you. How come you guys have already started construction?
We have not started.
Well, there's concrete trucks going in and out of there. There's water trucks going in and out of there. They're dragging dirt down Fremont. Should there be riprap that's supposed to keep that dirt from getting on the street?
So we are the current owners. We provide existing development for attendance to 16 streets. And so I know they're currently working on the BOR reclamation easement movement.
So they're working under another.
Exactly. Unrelated. Well, kind of
That clears it up, because I was like, how can they ask me for a special use permit? They're already doing construction. That's a problem. And that's what was gonna be my public comment, so I'm glad I did come and join this huddle. So my other question is, are they gonna have to redo all of Fremont all the way down?
That'd be the next.
Okay, that's great, because you know, that road is just, especially if we're talking about like 600 trips a day. So that'd be more or less, I wanted to underestimate.
Yeah.
Get all. 3,000 trips a day going up and down that street. Yeah, so I'm actually really excited because it's going to improve, my view a little bit, and you've been staring at that old house that's been falling apart now for years.
Well, we're
So I'm not
opposed.
opposed. I just want to make sure. What are we getting out of it? You know, because we're suffered for decades. It'll be nice to have a sidewalk there, there's on the north side of the project, and
we have one that's
eventually in my place becomes a part of this thing. Sidewalk will be there something. So that's what. Well, eventually this all will be a part of something. If he was like, how do you know that? Because it always is, it always ends up that way, you know, so. Yeah. I'm excited.
Very access, and besides just the fact, I think there's very access.
There's no difference.
No drain.
Oh, nice. Right. That's good. Because my grade of my property comes down.
I think that's the kind of stuff that we start.
Yeah, not here. That would be.
Hopefully it's working out. Yeah, everybody can get ahead of them. Keep that next week and we'll talk about it. Yeah. Yeah, which is like. I saw something. Yeah, our first hearings on it this month. Otherwise, it's the second. Okay. Yeah.
Actually, I just wanted a mother-in-law. I was looking about 2 years ago. So, you know how you go that house that's would be to the west, under across from the, yeah, so. Actually, yeah, that's what I couldn't fit anything on it, and I finally found something else close.
B2B. So doesn't it just go down to GC? It's still far. So there's not really change. That's assuming nothing gets done. Yeah.
We'll resume as soon as our remaining commissioner returns.
Sounds great. And we have some information.
It's US 95, I guess is probably the better reference.
Well, no, just meaning that you might have to like present it because I have to.
Sandy, do we have the traffic?
Well, we have
Madam Chair, I have the information on the level of service.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and resume the meeting.
If I may, thank you, Madam Chair, so Commissioner, to your question about level of service, always a good one, and we'll make sure that's in our presentation next time. So we did go back and confirm that the AM peak hour current level of service is a B, and with this project, it's still a B. PM peak hour level of service, currently a C, and with this project remains a C. So we're keeping the level of service for this project confirmed by the traffic analysis.
Okay, I appreciate you looking that up. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and open it up for public input. Is there anybody from the public that would like to comment? Please write your name on the sheet provided and state your name before you.
Hello, my name is Gregory Barrett. I live on Fremont Street, resident of Fernley. Just want to acknowledge that I am in favor of this project. I would like to know the improvements that are going to be done on Fremont. I would like to see that before you guys move forward on the project. So that's my only comment. But, oh, and buffering, make sure that that buffering is in place. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
You guys did this. You sent me a letter. I come out and see my shadow now. I'm a longtime resident of Fernley. I've been here when water was cheaper than beer. I am a resident of Fremont Street for quite some time. The traffic. I'm somewhat of a traffic study expert.
I'm sorry. Can you state your name for the record?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not real official. Scott Herman. I am a resident of 785 Fremont. They bought my neighbor's place to have access to Fremont Street. Okay, I can probably consider myself somewhat of a traffic expert on Fremont Street and turning in there. I go out a couple times a day to work. Now I sit through the turn lane light probably 3 times at between 2 and 3:30 at night. So turn lane, no improvements when you built Fremont Apartments, right? Did we do any improvements? Not so much. And we're going to add how many more? 400, say 1 car piece, that's 400 more cars. I'm not an MIT guy, but I'd say that's going to add to the problems in the turning lane. Have you had occasion to go to Fremont Street when it's traffic time? Not so much. Did anybody tell these guys that was a blighted area you're building? You might want to check with the bank. We declared that a blighted area over there. Anyway, my concern is traffic and infrastructure. It's tough to get in up and down Fremont Street now. From what I understand, the only access in and out of this is going to be on Fremont Street. Is that correct? Okay. So there's going to be an alternative. You're going down Fremont to Vine. So that's the alternative escape route. So you're going in this big plot of land and the only in and out is Fremont Street? Right next to my house, as a matter of fact. 785, 780, close, right? What are we going to do to improve? We're going to make a sidewalk from Tractor Supply to that, probably not any further, right? To that turnoff, right? I'm guessing. And improvements to Vine Street, we're going to fix the potholes? Is that correct? I mean, we're going to widen it to a 4-laner. We're not coming off 80, right? We're coming from 95, turning in, going to Fremont. Is that correct? And the traffic study says no traffic? Are you kidding me? You add how many more? How many spaces you say? 600 spaces? Let's say half the people are there. I went to Fernley doing math. That's 300 cars.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry. The time is expired. But I hear what you're saying. So.
Yeah. So it's already a done deal for high rises So I wasn't paying attention when it went the first time, but as far as infrastructure, there's a sewer smell at the place too. We got to pay attention to that. I want to check on these studies, but thanks for your time.
I believe that we're going to hear again from them in the next agenda item that where they'll be discussing the.
Yeah, one way in and out.
Yeah.
You don't have to do math to know that's going to be a cluster.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
All right. Is there any more public input?
My name is Gene Lewis, and I purchased my first home on Wildwood Drive. And where this establishment is built, one of the emergency entrances is going to go directly on the side of my home. I've spoke with a lot of my neighbors. They disagree with the project. As far as what he said, the traffic, I feel like the traffic is going to be a lot. The amount of units and parking spaces, four bedroom units, and they say 2 parking spaces, and that's for guests also. Most people have their own car. And nowadays, when people live somewhere, they say, hey, let's all rent together. Let's make it cheaper. You know, and if it's a workforce community, I'm sure some families are going to move in there, but not every one of them is going to be families. People are going to move in and say, hey, let's all go in on this. Let's rent. And I'm worried about the cars overflowing into the neighborhoods. I think that's going to be an issue. If they don't park in the neighborhoods, what are they going to do? Fill up the Rayleigh's parking lot, get picked up and taken in? I just think it's a big project for that area in Fernley. It's a fairly small corner, you know, there's only 2 ways out. So I just think with the traffic, and I don't know, I got mixed opinions on it, but I spoke with a lot of my neighbors and they're kind of unhappy and disagree with it. I know I'm probably the youngest guy in here, but it's just something I look for in the future, you know, like we have so much land around us in Fernley. Why should we put it right here? You know, so that's my input on it. I'm just worried about what it holds for the future. You know, the road's narrow. Multiple things that other people said on the project kind of validate what I thought about too. So yeah, it's just, that's what people are thinking. That's what I'm thinking. And a lot of those same concerns come in with you guys also from what I heard today. But that's all I got. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate the comments.
My name is Michael Osterman. I live at 905 Sagewood Drive in that area. I'm completely against the project. You're bringing a bunch of rentals in here. I mean, we just got, it's basically Black Rock all over again, where you come in, you buy up the homes, they're just rentals. You're not here, you're here to make money. We need single family residences over there where people can buy homes they can afford, not rentals. We got plenty of rentals around here. We don't need no more rentals. You don't have the infrastructure over there to handle it. Not at all. Not off Fremont, not off 95A coming out by the Silverado, not where this gentleman lives over off Wildwood. You don't have the infrastructure and you never will. It's too big of a project. Single family residence is what you need in the area. Not the Black Rock type, come in, get rich quick, everyone gets screwed. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public input? Anybody on Zoom? Oh. All right, Commissioner Flores.
Just have a commentary that this location is a bit interesting because, you know, some people like I like to walk sometimes to places and this place is actually not too far away from some central areas and future development. A fair number of people are going to be maybe be able to walk to work if eventually some development arise that with manufacturing. So not everybody is going to drive, in my opinion, except of course in bad weather and very hot. But there is that aspect of it. It's actually very well located for the pedestrian, access and movement, I would say. That's all I have in comment. Thank you.
And this does appear to be, is it gated? So they require to be in and out. So my assumption is that people that are coming to visit, or if they have more cars than parking spaces, they're not even going to want to park outside of the gates.
For the record, great point, Madam Chair. That's correct. It's a gated community. But I think it's important to remember, all we can really do is rely upon your code, which is updated routinely based on experiences and parking requirements. And, we exceed that. And so we felt comfortable, so that staff, that the parking is there and that we're exceeding code. If I may address a few of those public comments, if you mind, Madam Chair.
Please.
Level of service. So I certainly didn't want to give the impression that going from B to B means there's no, additional traffic. There's just a range for, B, where B starts, and then B changes to C. So we remain in that range. Yes, there will be more traffic, but certainly not enough to trigger to a worse level of service. I also want to note Fremont Street, the width of it currently is not to city standards. This project, the developer's dime, is widening Fremont to bring it to city standards to make the situation better. I was going to cover this on the next agenda item.
And that was in the next agenda.
But while we're here, Madam Chair, we're going to widen it, curb, gutter, sidewalk, to your point, Commissioner Flores, sidewalk, all the way down. So some major improvements that we still believe will make the area better than it currently is today. And finally, Lincoln Communities, number one, rents to families. And so the 4-bedroom will be a family going in there with 1 or 2 vehicles, certainly not renting it per room. But 2, I just wanted to note that sometimes I represent clients and they entitle it and sell it, and you might get someone new coming before you. But this developer is not only the developer, they're going to build it, they're going to develop it, build it, own it, and operate it. And they hold it for 10 or 15 years. And so you're going to be dealing with these same people you see today, for a decade to come. There's no flip it and make money or bait and switch. This is the project, this is the community, and if there is a parking issue on Fremont, you can call Mr. Maloney personally and get it fixed. So I thought that was important to hear. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. Is there any other discussion from commissioners?
Just one suggestion. It'd be a lot better if you put it
Can you come?
by the freeway.
You'll need to come to the microphone. Sorry.
She already ran me out once, but I got a suggestion for them. They got that land you were talking about, that space between the houses there's a perfect space for an off-ramp on I-80 right there. They'd be kick in right there, right into the development, around, right back out.
Oh,
Huh?
that's with the Bureau of Reclamation. But yeah.
Yeah, that would just helpful thought.
Yeah.
That would alleviate traffic problem. Thanks, guys.
All right. Appreciate it.
All right, guys.
All right. Commissioner Lewis, Commissioner Wagner, any additional discussion? Good. All right. Can I get a motion? Commissioner Flores? Oh. It's. Never mind. Never mind.
Yeah, you want to? Okay. Based on the analysis presented by the staff report, I move to approve CUP 25004, subject to the conditions of approval included in the staff report.
Madam Chair, Tristan Rodriguez, Senior Planner. For the record, we are asking for the addition of the reversion to acreage language. Madam Clerk, if we can get my presentation over, and then that recommended motion can be read on the screen, should you all decide to go that route.
Is that it?
All right, try that again, Commissioner
Okay.
Flores.
If I can read it, yeah. Based on the analysis presented in the staff report, I move to approve CUP 25004, subject to the conditions of approval included in the staff report, and add the following condition of approval. Prior to issuance of any building permits within the subject development, the applicant shall complete a record and record of reversion to acreage for all affected parcels, subject to review and approval by the city. Evidence of recordation shall be provided to the planning department prior to building permit issuance.
Thank you very much. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. And can we please vote? And Commissioner Garvin votes yes.
I vote yes.
And that passes 6-0. Moving on to item 3.3, discussion and possible action on bill number 388 associated with DA 22002 AMD1, an amendment to a development agreement associated with Sherwood Village requested by 890 Fremont Street LP to reflect changes in the project form and layout of the proposed development. The subject site consists of approximately 26.47 acres and is designated mixed residential in the master plan and zoned MDR 14, medium density residential, maximum 14 DU/AC, and is generally located north of Fremont Street, south of US Interstate 80, west of Wildwood Drive, and east of Vine Street. Fernley, Nevada, APNs 021-092-05, 021-092-23, 021-092-26, 021-092-27, 021-092-55, 021-092-58, 021-092-59, and 021-092-60.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Tristan Rodriguez, Senior Planner for the record. The item before you tonight is DA 22002 AMD1, an amendment to the development agreement DA 22002 associated with the Sherwood Village project. The request is associated with Bill number 388 and has been submitted to reflect changes in the form and layouts of the proposed development. The subject site is approximately 26.47 acres, is designated mixed residential in the comp plan, and is zoned MDR 14. So this is a similar slide from the one we saw previously. Again, north of Fremont Street, south of I-80, east of Vine Street, west of Wildwood. Again, zoned MDR 14. And then on the screen, you can see the mix of use or zoning classifications surrounding the project. So the original development agreement was approved in association with the 316 unit apartment style residential development. Since the approval, the applicant has revised the project, is now proposing 293 unit duplex style residential development, which was discussed under the previous agenda item. The form and layout has changed a bit, and the applicant has submitted a development agreement amendments to reflect those changes. The proposed amendment is structured as an amended and restated development agreement rather than making a series of amendments to the existing agreement. The proposed document supersedes the original development agreement in its entirety. The amendment updates the project description and development framework, reflects the revised site layout and project design, updates infrastructure and implementation obligations, and established procedures associated with right-of-way acquisition and emergency access improvements. The amendment or the amended agreement establishes the obligations and responsibilities associated with implementation of the project. First, the amendment replaces the original development agreement in its entirety. The agreement establishes requirements related to Fremont Street frontage improvements, including roadway, utility, sidewalk, and storm drainage improvements necessary to serve the project. The agreement also establishes procedures associated with acquisition of right-of-way necessary to complete those improvements. In addition, the agreement provides a framework for development of the secondary emergency access connection to Vine Street. Finally, the agreement establishes responsibilities for public infrastructure obligations and associated costs, while also providing the administrative framework necessary to implement the revised development proposal. Pursuant to FMC 3203 100A6, two findings are required in order to approve a development agreement. Staff evaluated the amendment against the required findings and finds that both findings can be met. First, the amendment is the amendment is consistent with the city's master plan. The property remains designated as mixed residential and zoned MDR 14. The amendment does not alter the underlying zoning land use designation, but instead updates the obligations and implementation measures necessary to support the development proposal. Second, staff finds that the amendment is consistent with Nevada and federal law. The agreement has been processed in accordance with applicable Nevada revised statutes and Fernley Municipal Code, and staff is not aware of any provisions within the agreement that conflict with state or federal law. Staff is recommending approval of Bill 388, and the recommended motion is displayed on the screen. If the commission is unable to meet one or more of the findings, an alternate motion for denial is also provided and shown on the screen. That concludes my presentation, and I will pass it back over to the applicant, who also has a presentation to go over.
Hello again, Madam Chair. Perfect. Again, for the record, Garrett Gordon, on behalf of Lincoln Avenue Communities. So this is the tandem item from the use permit you just heard. It's the development agreement. The development agreement was approved with the last project. So this particular development agreement is an amendment, and not to be redundant to what you just heard from staff, but it really talks about Fremont Street improvements, right-of-way, secondary access. But let me say, on behalf of, your city attorney, Chris, and your outside counsel, I keep calling you Chris. It's Aaron is your city attorney, and your outside counsel, Chris Molina, who I've talked to 2 times a week for the last 3 months. So Aaron, I apologize.
Just keep calling him Chris.
Yeah, jeez. Mr. Molina, I'm gonna start Mr. Molina and Mr. Mortensen. Let's stick with that. So my apologies, Mr. Mortensen. So Mr. Mortensen and Mr. Molina certainly were tough with the negotiations, because if you saw a red line to this development agreement, a lot of it is just putting more costs on us, more bonding for for the public improvements, more deposits and payments for the improvements and for the right of way. So really, this is all funded and probably overfunded as far as security to make sure that the city is not paying anything in regards to these improvements. So it's a very tight agreement. One thing I would mention, though, is we did have a little question in regards to one section. You'll see in this specific development agreement, it does not reference water rights. And in one initial draft, which your council took out and said, this is a question for the planning commission to make a recommendation to council, water rights and the cost of those water rights. So currently in code, Fernley code, there's a requirement for the dedication of a certain amount of water rights that costs about $20,000 a unit, right? So you do the math on our number of units, that's a lot of money. And when we're trying to set these rental rates with AMIs and make sure this is workforce, 20,000 is a big chunk of money. So we looked at your 2022 water master plan, and this is the executive summary where it says, again, back in 2022, the city of Fernley contracted with Shaw Engineering to compose the water master plan, and obviously spent, public money on this plan as an update to the 2008 Water Master Plan. This plan utilizes your comprehensive master plan, your water resources plan, your water rate study technical memorandum, your water treatment plan expansion study. The master plan was developed to aid the city in water resource management and capital improvement planning, crucial to maintain the system and accommodate the city's expected growth. So I put that in there just to kind of set the stage that a lot of time and effort and analysis was put in on what's the right number. And the right number that was concluded is, you can see there in yellow, the average residential resource demand or gallons per day per unit is 344, which is half of what your Fernley code requires. So rather than $20,000 a unit, this would put us at about $10,000 a unit. So our request in the development agreement was, well, can we please refer to this water rights master plan, where the city put a lot of time and money and effort into, and use this number, which we believe your consultants confirmed was the right number. Now, your lawyers came back and said, well, how can you prove that? Like, what if you're wrong? What if 344 is the wrong number and our code is the right number? Now the city is out water rights and money. We said, great point. So you can see on top there, section 1.5, this is what we would just ask your consideration to put back in the agreement, that we would, number one, say, let's use the number that is in this 2022 Water Master Plan. However, you can see that second sentence. I'll just read it. So it would be, in accordance with City of Fernley 2022 Water Master Plan, the average residential connection demand is 344 gallons per day per unit, which shall be the measurement for the project's water rights dedication requirements, and the applicable connection fees shall be, and we plug that number in from the city. The city may require the developer to furnish, and this is important, without any additional cost to the city, a performance bond or letter of credit for 2 years for the cost to acquire additional water rights for the dedication in the event the actual rights for the project exceeds the required dedication. That security amount shall be the difference between the required and what's in code. So in other words, we're respectfully asking, give us a chance. Let's lower the costs on this project, make sure we can meet our expectations for rents and project budgets. Let's use a number that was studied by your staff and a consultant. But if we're wrong, we're going to post a bond, we're going to post security, and if 344 is really 700, then you have a bond to go out and buy those extra water rights, and there's no harm to the city at all. So in other words, you have an insurance policy if we're wrong. So we're just asking, give us a chance to use it, make this project certainly pencil better. If it does, great, perfect, everyone's happy. If we're wrong, you have an insurance policy to make sure that the city is not harmed whatsoever. So I believe Mr. Mortensen will say you have the authority to put this in, but it's at your discretion whether or not you may want to make that recommendation up to City Council. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I thank you for your time.
Madam Chairman, can I request a brief recess so I can discuss some with lawyer?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We'll take 5 minutes. All right, we will go ahead and resume. We'll start with any comments or questions from the commission.
Aaron Mortson, City Attorney, I did just want to step in. He did say that you have the authority to be able to make that recommended change, and you do have the authority to be able to make that recommended change. I will add that it's staff's recommendation, and Michelle is likely to add to this, that we don't make that change to the ERCs. However, you do have the authority, should you choose as planning commission to do that, you have the ability to do so.
Madam Chairwoman, sorry, I'm going to piggyback on that. Michelle Rambo, for Planning Director. We have had this conversation ongoing for different things for a while, and the general direction we've gotten from City Council is that they will not deviate on water rights. So they've got a pretty hard stance. So based on that, the direction from council, we have to recommend that this change not be made and they be held to the same requirements as other similar projects.
Noted. Thank you. Commissioner White.
I did have questions about your presentation and you saying to give it a chance and see, but how long of a projected time frame would you know by? Like if that's enough water rights or if it's under consumption?
Yeah. So Ryan Maloney from Lincoln Avenue Communities, for the record. So our property is going to hopefully, with approvals here and City Council, start construction before the end of the year, and will take about 2 years to be complete. And so it'll probably take, probably 28-ish months to lease up our entire community. And so by that time, we'll have residents living in the units, and then we'll have a performance period for, everyone's living in their units, using water. We as the developer are paying the water bills. So in order to release our bond, which we have outstanding in the city's name, we'll have to come to the city. Hey, we promised we were going to be at 344 like the master plan. We're at 200. Please release our bond. Or whoops, we messed up our estimate. We exceeded. We're at 700. Then we have that financial security to reimburse the city to go out and acquire the additional water rights. So really, like, once people move into the units, like, we'll know within the year, what our actual usage looks like.
But you're quoting like go ahead.
And so the condition was proposed for kind of once everything's built, it's occupied, we start getting full water numbers, would be a 2-year performance period. Year 1, year 2, then we would square up after that point in time. I would say, you might kick me if you were more comfortable with 1 more year, a 3rd year to take a look at it to make sure we got it right. I think we'd be amenable to that. But we thought 2 years was a really good time frame.
You're quoting the price of water rights at the price per acre foot currently at 20,000. Have you guys tracked what they've done over the past 2, 3, 5 years? In the sense that that's not like a set price, that it's like real estate and it changes based on supply and demand?
So it's a great point, Commissioner. So we would set the bond, we wouldn't tie up that number today because you make a great point. The water rights value might change over the next 3, 4, 5 years. So we would envision, we would set that bond amount to make absolutely certain that the city is made whole. And even if from year 1 to year 2, the water right amount changed, that bond would have to be increased to cover it. So there's no doubt whatsoever, after that 2-year trial period, the city would be made whole in the event the 2022 master plan number was wrong.
And then just to clarify, your number that you're coming in at was based on what is considered an average at the time of 2022. And you guys have not like buffered that in any way to increase it by a cushion, like in case that's wrong. You're going with that minimum number that could be quoted.
So I think it's worth mentioning that the existing 344 number is based on, users today in the city of Fernley for single family homes. And with the requirements that we have to follow and just, us as the developer, we are paying the water bills ourselves. We have every incentive, both, external requirements on us per code and also our incentives to keep water bills as low as possible because we're paying that money. So, we've tested our portfolio across the country and concluded we think a realistic number is 150 gallons per day, which I know sounds extreme compared to the 1,000 estimate, but that's, we're pretty confident in that number and we have a pretty significant buffer. But, unlike certain uses, which just kind of trend up and upwards, new development is a lot more water efficient compared to older development.
If I may, Commissioner. So it's another great question, a great point, because when we started this process and this request for the water rights number, Lincoln sent in a study based on other communities around the country and saying, hey, here's the number, and we started with that. And then, staff had some concerns of, well, maybe you operate a little differently than Fernley, current operators do. So then we came across this 2022 and thought, wow, that's a good compromise. We think we're going to be here. City code thinks you're going to be way over here, and your 2022 master plan says you're going to be here. So let's set it at here and then have security in the event we go up here. But we're certainly not asking, well, we should get a credit if we were right in the first place. We kind of found a middle ground to land on and then provide that security. What was our thought?
Then I have a question either for Aaron or for Michelle. If this went through and say city council approved it, what kind of precedent does that set for future problems?
Aaron Morse, the city attorney, it's the city's generally position that different projects are not precedential to each other. Each project is unique and has its own aspects and is handled in its own unique way and isn't a precedent to other projects.
Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Lewis here. Very familiar with water rights. 2.25 acre feet should be dedicated to the city of Fernley, which is approximately, just doing the quick math, 660 acre feet. I would agree with our planning director that we not deviate from the requirement of that. I don't know what the current city rate is per acre feet for water rights, but they're essentially trying to request us to cut that request almost in half and depend upon an additional study. So just doing the quick math, if the city is selling water rights at 20,000, they want to give us 6.5, and really they need to give us almost 13.2. I'm a little more familiar with water rights than most, so I would agree with the planning director's direction that we deny this deviation. And I agree with Commissioner White that this absolutely sets a precedent for future projects.
Thank you, Commissioner Lewis.
Thank you, Commissioner Lewis, for the comment. I just wanted to, I appreciate that input. I just wanted to make the record clear that we're certainly not trying to pay half of the obligation. We think we're going to meet the obligation currently, but to your hypothetical, if the current requirement is 13.2 and we currently pay 6, in the event that we in fact used up to 13.2, you would be made whole. The city would be made whole, so we would pay our full 13.2.
Again, it sets a precedent for additional developments, even though our city attorney has stated that each project is viewed subjectively based on that. But again, I agree that this item should be removed prior to approval.
I don't think this is this would have to be a second, that we would have to do this in addition to what we would be approving.
Correct, Madam Chairwoman. Michelle Rambo, Planning Director. This is at their request, so you would have to include this in your motion if you wanted to go with their proposal. So if you make a motion based on what staff has given you, you just go.
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
And then we make, in addition to that.
Right.
So, okay. Does that answer your question, Commissioner Lewis?
Yes, it does. I mean, I am for this project because of the well-planned design, but I do not agree with everybody trying to monitor water usage. Everyone in this city is required at 2.25 acre feet per unit. I do not think at this point the city has the ability, nor should we put ourselves in jeopardy for future projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores.
I have a question regarding the monetary payment of this money goes for the water rights, but doesn't it go for the infrastructure also? Doesn't it affect the infrastructure build outs or future planned, maintenance or something like that? Does anybody know the cost?
Michelle Rambo, Planning Director. Unfortunately, we were not anticipating this coming up tonight. Otherwise, I would have brought the Public Works Director because he has all that information.
Okay.
So I do not know the answer to that question.
Okay. Well, for the record, I think you're right. The water rights are important. Make them pay as much, what is required. But I think an exception and a modification, not this severe, you might look into it because this is a special project, very good density, good project. And, this kind of project with multiple housing that is very low impact is actually very desirable to Fernley, in my opinion. It doesn't give too much community opposition. And it really does strengthen the possibility of future jobs, workplace jobs, so people can work in Fernley and live in Fernley. So my point of view is that maybe there's some compromise up here. I don't think it should be 344, but maybe a number like 450, 475 might be in order just to attract this kind of development until we're satisfied that there's enough of this type of development. So, I think it's worth, maybe exploring this as a future, research to some extent, because it would be, this is a unique kind of development. It's a very, most of the high, medium residential have been very impactful and pretty bad in terms of the neighborhoods. But this is really very desirable in my opinion. So I think a compromise that's higher than this might be warranted, but I don't know how we would do that, and I don't know if people are in favor to do that for this special kind of development. Just that's all I have to say.
Again, Angela Lewis, I would agree, but that sets itself up, and I think it's been made very clear that if we approve this, it will probably be denied at City Council. And again, I think it sets up a truly different precedent for us to work with future development. We've approved the project. This has been something new, so I kind of feel like we've been blindsided by this. So I would approve this without this line item and send it to City Council, or they come back with a different proposal.
Yes.
That's my opinion and my input based on my knowledge of water rights and what the city's requirements are.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Lewis.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
thank you. Just for the record, apologies if this came off as blindsiding or not aware. Michelle, a lot of respect for you and your staff. The last call we did have with outside counsel, the discussion was, we're not going to put this in, but feel free to ask for it at Planning Commission. So if I should have handled it a little differently next time, let me know. But we put it in our presentation, which was a public document, and talked about it today. So just wasn't trying to play any games or blindside anyone. Two, to your question, Commissioner Flores, you make a great point. We are still saying we're paying our connection fees and every other fee related to the infrastructure piece. This is only the ask for the value of the water right itself. So we wouldn't jeopardize the system, wouldn't jeopardize the infrastructure. We're just saying, give us a break on the water rights. If we're wrong, we'll pay you back. No harm, no foul.
All right, thank you. I'm going to agree with Commissioner Lewis on this. However, to defer discussion to maybe next month's meeting, have the public, sorry.
Aaron Morrison, City
Public
Attorney.
Works Director here. Yes.
I'm not the Public Works Director, but as a general rule, the costs that come with infrastructure are done through hookup fees and done through fees on the water bill, and they'd be separate from the costs that are discussed here.
But would still like to have a more information on that before we make any motion on that. I think we should stick to what's on the agenda if we can. Commissioner Wagner, I know you've been patiently waiting.
I think I'm going to say I do not agree with this discussion about water rights. I think there's a standard the city sets. If we talked about precedent, this is the first time in 10 years we've had a discussion like this. We shouldn't be trying to negotiate water rates. There's a certain amount of water rights that are necessary to build products in the city. And to be conservative about our water right estimate is absolutely the right thing for our future. Fully support city staff and don't really want to have this conversation with every single development we have. So I emphatically think we shouldn't even discuss it further. It is a no-brainer no for me.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Wagner. Is there any other discussion? All right, we'll open it up to public input. Is there any public input at this time? Anybody on Zoom? No. Commissioner White, did you have more questions? We are going to, the motion will be as it's in the staff report. And it does not have anything to do with yes.
And Aaron Mortson, the City Attorney, you can make the motion as listed in the staff report. If you do choose to want to make that amendment, you could include that in the motion that you would want to make.
So, any other discussion from the commission? All right, Commissioner White, do you want a motion?
Based on the analysis presented in the staff report, I move to recommend approval of bill number 388 and DA 22002 AMD1 and amendment to development agreement DA 22002 associated with the Sherwood Village project as presented by staff.
Thank you. And can I have a second?
I'm sorry, I need some clarifications, Commissioner Lewis here. Do we need to include the removal of their proposed?
No, because it wasn't in there to begin with.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure since I'm not there and I can't really see 3 screens at one time. I want to make sure that that is not being approved.
It is not.
And Aaron Morrison, City Attorney, that's correct. The motion as written does not include that changed language.
Okay, very good. Okay, thank you.
Do you want a second since you have the hot mic?
Yes, I will second the motion.
Thank you. Can we please vote? And Chairwoman Garvin votes yes.
I vote yes.
And that passes 6-0. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 3.4, discussion and possible action regarding TSM 26001, a tentative subdivision map requested by Fred Altman to allow for 253 townhomes on an approximately 16.88 acre lot zoned MF30 and located north of Westerland Lane, east of Silver Lace Boulevard, west of 6th Street, and south of US 50 alternate APN 021-103-61.
Good evening, Commissioners. Tristan Rodriguez, Senior Planner for the record. This item was previously continued by the Planning Commission from the May 13th meeting to today. Because a specific continuance date was established, this item was required to be placed on today's agenda. Since that time, the applicant has requested additional time to address outstanding review comments. Accordingly, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission continue the item to a future Planning Commission meeting date once the project is ready to proceed forward.
So again, we're asking for a motion to continue this item to a future planning commission date once the project is ready to proceed.
Can I get a motion? Commissioner White.
I motion to move this item to a future date when sorry, I wasn't doing very good. I move to continue TSM 26001 to a future planning commission meeting date pending completion of outstanding project-related items and application materials.
Can I get a second, Commissioner Flores?
I second that motion.
And can we please vote? Chairwoman Garvin votes yes.
I vote yes.
Passes 6-0. All right. Chair and commission items. Commissioners, is there any items that you wish to discuss or to put on a future meeting? Commissioner White?
I was curious if we could have a list of who is on the steering committee. Is that published or available for who's going to be at those
Absolutely, we can
meetings?
get you that.
Okay,
Tristan has that list handy, so he can send that out tomorrow.
okay. And then, I don't know if it's beneficial or not, I just thought I would touch on the topic. Based on the general public's idea that we don't need more rentals in this town, is there any information that could be shared, and I know it's a snapshot of any point in time, of how short we are on houses and how short we are on rentals? Just
Yes.
as public knowledge, because I'm very aware of how short we are on both. Having 35 to 45 homes for sale in Fernley, give or take this week, and having, I think, 14 houses for rent on Zillow right now. I just think it would be really good knowledge to have as just a general idea moving forward.
I would agree. And what the wait lists are pending yeah, I've heard it's like a year out.
Yeah, at least. I know River Ranch has a waiting list at least a year out. So it is definitely a need that we have. I can put together, we do have some housing information about how much we are short. I can't remember who presented that at some point. Might have been the rural housing people. Anyway, I can get that and maybe have them come give you another presentation on that. Or just give you information, whichever you prefer.
I don't think we need a presentation, just.
Okay, I can just put it out there.
Put it out there.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else? Commissioner Lewis, Commissioner Wagner, are you good?
Yeah, again, I'd like to ask if there's any update on any of the current incoming developments or what you guys are currently dealing with. Let me give some clarification to that.
That's a little broad. We might need a little.
I know it is a little broad. Sorry, it's been our longest meeting we've ever had. But if there's any information that we know that's on the works or any projects that are maybe forthcoming that that we could know about. And again, that's a broad thing because we don't know whether they will come to us or not. I guess I'll just discount that comment.
Okay. Yes, I can give you updates. I can include those in my updates that I do at the end of every agenda. That might be a good way to do it. Give you an idea of maybe go over some of the submittals that we get every month, just to give you an idea. So stuff
Yeah,
like
I think that would be a great idea so that we can kind of foresee and maybe continue to do some research in regards to those. That would be great. And I know that takes some extra work, so maybe just some of the major.
No, that's fine. We also have a monthly report that we put out. I can provide you with that too.
Okay, excellent.
So yeah, I can do that.
Okay, perfect.
All right, we'll move on to item 5, planning director items.
Okay. 5.1, update on the council items. Actually, in the council arena, things have been pretty slow for planning. We've had one item on the June 3rd agenda, and that was the first reading for that Friendly 5 modification for the timing of that extension up to 50. So we're going to have the second reading on that in next week's meeting. So I'll have more information for you next month on that. The only other thing is that I have, as I mentioned at the last meeting, I've been working on a data center code to cover some of the expected interest that we're getting for data centers. I do have a very rough draft of those. So I'm going to present those to council next week. I will also bring those to you guys at next month's meeting.
Can you email that to us too, so we can look it over?
I could possibly do that. Basically what we'll be doing, it's very draft, it's very preliminary. I just want some direction on, the process and, some of the regulations, if you think they need to be changed or other things added. So if you have any specific data center issues that you want addressed, that'd be a good time to do that as next month's meeting. And that's all I have for now.
I have a good example I can send you of one that's actually currently going on, not even in Nevada, but hoping it actually sets the example of what should be in place. So, yeah. Okay. Let's see. Address requests for future agenda items. Let's go to public forum, item 7. This portion of the meeting devoted to the public. If you wish to comment, you can do so in person at the meeting or use the raise your hand feature in Zoom, *9 if you're participating via phone. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. Please avoid repetition. Is there any additional public input at this time?
Good job. Well done.
I'm sorry, that was not on the record. Anybody on Zoom? All right, our next meeting will be June? It is June. Wow, July 8th at 5 p.m. Meeting adjourned.